A dead man responded to my YouTube and Substack pieces about photographing flowers by remembering a day that he picked flowers on a Swiss mountain pass. Then my machine put his letter on trial to prove that he wasn't lying. This is what happened, and to understand this letter, you need to know what I wrote to him first, because he was answering me. I built a little portable publishing office, a typewriter that types back, my iPhone, mic, laptop. I photographed flowers in my backyard. The AI identified what flowers they were. CueCam builds a presentation. A bot strips out the dead air. I make one human editing pass, and the system writes the titles, timestamps, and thumbnail, and publishes. An hour of flowers becomes a short finished video. And my whole argument was, this is good because it lets me stay present. The machinery handles the tedious part, so I can be in the moment instead of hunched over editing software while I'm on vacation. Well, that's the pace. And that's just me explaining with some pride the factory that we built to keep myself from missing out on my own life. Then I fed that piece to the correspondent, and he wrote back. This new machinery working on my desktop is designed to not only turn moments into publications, but also to answer the question, what if the messages from the system can be reviewed as verified and a source of truth? I had to develop a system to determine what is performed by the machine, what is documented as published work, and what is rejected by machine and not credible at all. Complete hallucination. So, did Mark Twain write this passage? This is progress in the American manner. We invent machinery to save time, then use the same time saved to supervise the machinery. He didn't write it. The machine wrote it in his voice, and I can prove that he didn't write this because the same machine that wrote it also told on it. Last episode, a dead man texted me. This episode, I make him show his receipts. When I fed the machine my article about photographing flowers, it went through everything Twain ever wrote for something that rhymed. And it found this. In August of 1878, Mark Twain was hiking the Gemmi Pass in the Swiss Alps with a clergyman friend. Joe made him a paper bag, and Twain pinned it to his lapel and filled it with wildflowers. He wrote home about it. We took it leisurely, and I picked all I wanted to. 148 years ago, a man stepped off the publishing treadmill to gather flowers and take his time. This past week, I did the same thing in my backyard with an iPhone, and I wrote a whole essay about it. The machine didn't write that line, it found it. Twain really wrote it to his wife about real flowers, and the machine handed it back to me across a century like it had been waiting for someone to ask. That's the whole experiment right there. Not can a computer fake Twain, but can it find the place where his life and mine actually touch? The beautiful flower line is the only sentence in the entire letter that Mark Twain actually wrote. Everything else, printing office joke, the line about the flowers not waiting on the publication department, the threat to throw my computer into a pond. All of it is invented, performed. Twain flavored, but never said by Twain. And here's the rule that this whole project will live on. I'm allowed to perform him. I am never allowed to counterfeit him. Performance is fine. Fake evidence is not. So I built him a parole officer. Every letter the correspondent writes gets audited line by line before it reaches me by a separate part of the system whose only job is to ask, is this real or is this performance? 3 states documented, verbatim Twain, with receipts, the work, the date, the recipient, the exact location, and the source, down to a Project Gutenberg ID you can check for yourself. In my presentations, those get the mark, the Ouroboros, the snake that closes its own loop, because documented text is the part that traces back to something permanent. This letter, 1 documented passage, 3 performed, 0 rejected, and that, the fact that it passed clean, is where it got interesting, because passing the audit doesn't answer the hardest question. The audit is private. It runs behind the scenes, but you, reading the letter, just see the letter. You see no quotation marks, no footnote, looking exactly as if it were invented like everything around it. So where does the proof belong? Does the receipt go inside the letter, or does it go below it? On Discord, my agent Larry presents the goods about the letter. So here's the contract. The letter travels pure. The receipt travels below it. And the covenant is that the receipt always exists and I will make it public. But I don't want to deface the letter to prove it either. Did Twain writes this gets answered not by scarring the page, but by guaranteeing the answer is always seen. He caught me building a factory to be present and then reminded me, using his own words, from a real mountain in a real year, what the factory is for. The flowers, not the workflow. A letter that good is owed a reply. And his half, that the machine can write. My half, it can't. That part's still on me at my desk, owing a dead man an answer. So next episode, I'll write back, and I get to find out whether you can actually have a correspondence with a man who only exists because you built him